Hey everyone, Josh Slaughter here, running for the New York State Assembly to represent our community. Recently I reached out on various social media outlets asking residents to relay their concerns to me and really to raise their questions as to what they would expect their assemblymen here in the area to be able to deliver and address on the issues that are important to them. So I just want to take the opportunity to kind of go through some of the issues that were raised and explain, how I see, the role of an assemblyman to address those issues. Just going to start off here with, a resident who raised concerns over road repair and why our roads aren't being repaired and maintained, appropriately on a consistent basis here in the community. And this is really a multi-layered question because different layers of government control different roadways. Your local residential roads really are at the town level where you have an elected superintendent of highways who's charged with budgeting and maintaining those roads. However, your state roads, which are really your major highways, Sunrise Highway, the Long Island Expressway, are funded and maintained through the state. And as your assemblyman, having the ability to advocate for the community and bring back necessary resources, I think is a very important role. And I would be in a unique position as a state assemblyman for the 3rd District, as I would be in the majority in Albany, which really plays an important role in being able to deliver. Minority members are one of 50 out of 150, whereas, the majority members have almost 2/3 of the assembly. And so as a majority member, I'd have the unique ability to bring more tax dollars from New York State here to our area and advocate for things such as roads. The state funds it through what's called CHIPS funding. Historically, that has not been raised budgetarily over the last decade or two from where they were historically in the past. Long Island used to get a lot more money for roads than they do today. I think that's just a reflection of a lack of leadership here from our local state elected officials. And when elected as the New York State Assemblyman for our area, being in the majority, I will certainly be advocating for more dollars in the CHIPS funding so that we have the necessary resources here to start repaving our roads, filling the potholes, and maintaining our roads appropriately as we deserve. Because not only is it a safety issue, it's a cost issue. We all know you blow your tire out, on a pothole, that's being paid for through your insurance. Your insurance is going up, that raises rates for everybody. And it's just the lack of investment that's causing those problems. And, certainly, again, as a majority member, I'm going to be fighting very, very hard to make sure that, historically what we used to getting those dollars back here into our community, because I just feel it's a lack of leadership and a lack of advocacy on behalf of our current representatives to deliver for the community. So another question that a lot of residents have raised, and I share their concern, is why are our electric bills skyrocketing? And this is a complicated, multifaceted issue, but I want to speak to a couple of very important ways in which we can reduce our energy costs. First and foremost, it's demand. We have a capacity issue on Long Island. As we've built out the island, we haven't kept up with the infrastructure and maintenance of our electric grid, being able to supply the amount of energy we need to meet our needs. And so that's rising costs right now. And a couple of key ways that the state is already actively working to make sure that soon in the future we're going to have that capacity at a lower cost, and that's through renewable energy projects on Long Island. We have multiple wind farms right now, one that was recently constructed in Montauk that's delivering energy and actually showed this past summer that it was supplying energy to Long Islanders at a cheaper cost as to some of our other outdated, antiquated supply with Northport plant, Port Jeff plant. These are old energy plants that are not now producing all year round. We just use them as peaker plants at a very high cost, a very dirty cost to our air quality. Solar is another big thing that we need to be building out more. And me as a homeowner, I was seeking to do that this year on my home. Unfortunately, cuts in federal programs that provided subsidies for homeowners to be able to build solar are no longer there. It's preventing me from actually moving forward with that project. I think that New York State can help fill that gap Right now, New York only provides about $5,000 towards the system. I think we can do more. As an assemblyman, that's something I will fight for, to make sure we're providing homeowners the ability to build solar so they can save, personally on their utility bills. We do have some large-scale solar here, community-based solar, but that certainly will need more. But I do believe in the all-above approach, because the solar and the wind isn't going to be built out fast enough to bring down our costs. And as a union labor leader, we have a lot of good-paying jobs in the natural gas sector, and that is a cleaner model than some of the antiquated plants we have working off of fossil fuels. And so there's a NESE pipeline project that the governor is moving forward with that's going to create good paying jobs and also increase our natural gas capacity on Long Island. That will help bring down costs. We need to continue to invest in that technology. Eventually renewable energy, I think, will be able to supply all of the needs here on Long Island, but it's going to take many years to get that in place. And we need to continue to do an all above approach so that we can control costs until we get there. So I think it's important that New York State invests in all of these needs. The last piece of Propel New York, which New York State's moving forward with in this year, we're going to put shovels in the ground to build out our grid, make it more efficient. Another way to help bring down costs and help deliver the capacity we need here to Long Islanders. So again, we need all levels of government working together. But I think, as an assemblyman, I know I will be fighting to get these projects completed with the good paying jobs that they bring to help bring down costs for New York residents. So another important issue that all Long Islanders are familiar with is traffic, and how do we address the congestion in our neighborhoods. And in the community I live in Shirley, we live on a peninsula surrounded by water on the east, west, and south. And it's very, very difficult to get in and out of the peninsula because of the railroad tracks keep us trapped from being able to get out with not enough routes in and out of the peninsula. And for many years, people have requested and asked and pleaded for more railroad crossings in the community, and also to do something about the William Floyd Parkway crossing, which is 2 lanes in each direction, a major artery in and out of the community, where we have to stop for the train. Even when it's at the station, they keep the crossing down as people get on and off the train. It's just too long of a wait in an area that needs that free flow of traffic to address our congestion issues. And so, as your New York State Assemblyman, this is a very important project I want to fight for our community to get done and deliver on. MTA is a state agency, and we need to bring these tax dollars back to our community to invest in our infrastructure, to improve the traffic issue, to put local residents to work, and certainly an underpass and overpass at the William Floyd Parkway train station will help do that. We also need additional crossings, and whether it's Madison Avenue, Hawthorne Avenue, we need more avenues over the railroad crossings outside of Mastic Road and William Floyd Parkway. I think that'll be a huge lift to our traffic burdens, something I'm committed to doing as your assemblyman. Our current leadership isn't talking about it, isn't fighting for it, isn't doing anything about it. And also in light of all the major development in the area, we have developers who are investing money in the community. It's important. We certainly have needs for housing, but if developers are going to come in and build hundreds of units of housing or millions of square feet of warehouse space that brings more trucks into the community, they should be responsible for helping to pay for the infrastructure improvements that come from those projects as well. And especially down in Mastic Beach right now, over 600 units of housing being proposed. But the developer isn't responsible for doing anything about railroad crossings, doing anything about widening the roads and adding lanes, things of that nature that will be needed for the increased traffic that's going to come with the development. And especially in Yaphank, we're seeing massive warehouse developments that impacts North Bellport, Yaphank, the communities of Brookhaven, especially in and around our landfill. We need traffic improvements to handle that if that's going to be happening. And so those are things that completely being neglected right now by our current representatives. And I, as your assemblyman, promise I'm going to fight to bring those resources to our community, do things that we need to increase the traffic flow, alleviate the burden on our residents as we continue to grow as a community. So another important issue for Long Islanders is our high property taxes. We have a huge burden on homeowners here to help pay for a myriad of issues. It really does come from our many layers of taxing jurisdictions. We are overtaxed. We are not consolidated enough when it comes to fire districts, library districts, school districts, police district, library district. We all know that we have multi-layers on our property tax bill that's really burdening homeowners, and especially our schools. It's 70% of the tax bill here in New York State. That's something that needs to be addressed if we're going to address property taxes. And in New York State, we fund our schools through foundation aid, and then through the local property tax. And the best way to reduce the burden on the local property taxes is to be able to have more state aid coming to our school districts. And an effective assembly person is able to do that. And I think right now our current representation hasn't fought hard to bring back the necessary resources to our community so that our local school district doesn't have to raise our local property taxes to meet the needs of our students and our families in our school district. Another question along the lines of what are programs in our schools. There's concerns over not having enough programs for our youth. With the high property taxes we pay, residents feel that we should have better programs and more opportunities. This is something that is very important to me. It's something I've actually done as a union leader for our students here on Long Island, is creating opportunities for careers when they graduate. The laborers union, we have a union pre-apprenticeship high school program, something that I was able to start with the Roosevelt School District, the Brentwood School District, and soon to be the Hempstead School District. Something I'd love to see here in the Patchogue, Medford, William Floyd, or Longwood School Districts, South Country School District, where we are going to train our kids to start a career in the trades, where they don't have to go to college and take on that debt of student loans. And as soon as they graduate, we guarantee them a spot in our union apprenticeship. On day one, they're making a good salary, health insurance, and a pension, and the ability to continue to live here and thrive on Long Island. And so it's programs like these that I think we need to be bringing to our school districts. I know some of the local school districts already are doing CTE, career and technical education, when it comes to culinary and mechanic and construction. But the key thing is tying this to good careers when they graduate. So it's programs like this that I already have experience bringing to our schools that I would fight to bring to all of our schools, and the necessary resources our schools would need to be able to do that. And that helps people pay for our property taxes, right? If you have a better job, if you have a career when you graduate, you're able to buy a home, you're able to pay the property taxes, afford to live here, and that helps support our local school district and its budgets. Lastly, a lot of this is done at the local level through our school boards, right? Our state certainly is responsible for helping funding, but it really is up to our local school boards to be good stewards of our money, to ensure that we have the necessary programs. And I, as an assemblyman, will work closely with our school boards and closely with our superintendents to understand the needs and be able to fight, again, to make sure that we are getting the state resources here to get that done, so that they're not forced to raise local property taxes to deliver for our students. So I want to appreciate and thank the residents who have responded to my call for questions and answers. I think accountability is extremely important from our elected officials. And I want to be someone who listens to the residents and works hard to address your concerns that are important, not only to you, but me as a resident and community member here too. So as this campaign moves forward, I will continue to be accessible. Continue to want to hear what your questions and concerns are. And I promise to be responsive and continue to do things like this, where I can let you know, what my position is and how I feel best to find solutions to your concerns and needs. So please continue to send them via social media, or if you see me out in the community. I want to hear your questions, your concerns, to remain accessible. So please continue to do so, and know that once elected, I will always be an assemblyman who's accessible and transparent for the residents. Thank you.